Hi audio geeks, and welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at this, the rather marvellous iFi Hip DAC, a combined portable DAC and amp which is rather astonishing value at £149 here in the UK. Now iFi are a prominent UK audio technology company, and not that I'm biased or anything, but they make some fantastic gear for both desktop and portable audio environments. The Hip DAC is their solution to delivering great audio from your phone, for example, whilst on the go. Now the Hip DAC has some unique features which make it stand out at the price point, including a balanced 4.4mm Pentagon headphone output, an analog volume knob, and also wide format support, including full support for DSD and even MQA, whatever you think about that. So how does the whole package hang together? Let's take a look. So inside the rather nice box you get the DAC itself, which we'll look at in a minute, and a range of cables. So you get 3 cables, including those that will let you plug it straight into a USB port. On an Android phone, for example, that's that one, and it fits in just there. You also get a similar cable to attach it to a USB-A port, for example, on your laptop, and a charging cable too. The Hip DAC charges via USB-C, which is fantastic, although mine did come in the post completely flat, and it took about 3 hours to charge up fully, which seems like ages when you want to play with your new toy. First impressions of the Hip DAC are that it's beautifully designed and it's a solid piece of equipment. It feels like it should cost a lot more than £149. The aluminium housing is this beautiful blue colour which changes slightly depending on the light, and it's offset by this lovely copper coloured analog volume potentiator. It's not the smallest portable DAC in town. Here it is in comparison to my Pixel 4a phone. However, it's not too heavy and won't take up too much space in your pocket or in your bag. Now if we take a closer look at it, the front panel is where you will find the 3.5mm single-ended and 4.4mm balanced output, along with the aforementioned spangly knob, which is also the on-off button. As you can see, there are a couple of LEDs which we'll come back to in a bit. Now on the other side are these 2 extra buttons. So this is basically a high gain button, which you'll need when you're switching it into high gain mode when you're listening through headphones, for example. And then this button is the X bass button, which again we'll talk about in a bit. Round the back, as you've already seen, we have the USB-C charging port, but that's purely a charging port. You can't connect it for audio input that way. And here is a USB connector for connecting audio. Remember, if you want to connect it to an iPhone, you do need the additional camera connection cable, lightning to camera connection cable, but it slots straight in too, so no problem. So as I said, this thing supports most audio file formats that you could possibly think of. Most of my collection is CD quality FLAC, but I also do listen to MQA files from Tidal, which this thing can unfold, decode if you like, fully. Now the DAC in this is taken care of by a Burr Brown chipset, which again is a slightly unusual chipset in DACs at this price. There's also a decent amplification stage, and that will put out either 280 milliwatts from the 3.5mm output or 400 from the balanced output. Now I tested it with several in-ear monitors, including my Moondrop Starfields, which I've just reviewed, along with the Shure SE846, very high-end IEMs. And I also tested it out using some headphones, including the Sennheiser HD650s, which are old favourites, and my new absolute super favourite, the Hi-Fi-Man Sundara. The music selection was typically eclectic, so we had a bit of Juanita Stein, her latest album Snapshot, fabulous by the way. We had a little bit of Jeff Buckley live, then we had Left Field's masterpiece, Leftism, and for some classical music we chose 4A's Requiem, just for starters. So, how does this thing sound? Well, honestly, I was seriously impressed with the sound of it. I think it's fair to say that on the whole, this is quite a warm sounding unit, even with the X bass switch off. There's definitely a lot of volume and character to the bass, but it remains crisp, impactful, and not at all bloated, which is fantastic. Now on bass-heavy electronic tracks, some people might find the overall effect to be a little bit too much, especially if you are pairing it with bassy headphones. So for example, my Moondrop Starfields are quite warm sounding to start off with, and the overall effect when paired with this on electronic tracks was just a bit bass heavy. Now if you are a bass head, you will absolutely love this thing and it will fulfill your wildest bass-fueled fantasies. Now I preferred listening to it when paired with some brighter IEMs, such as my thoroughly old school Shure E4Cs. Can you believe I've had these since 2005, still holding up pretty well. Now these often sound a little bit anemic with the wrong source, but paired with the iFis, they definitely benefit from the extra warmth and the bass boost, so really happy with those. Now remember, the Hip DAC is no one-trick bass pony. The mid-range is actually presented very nicely with good vocal and instrument separation across all genre. And it's only the treble, perhaps, which to me sounds a little bit rolled off, that some people might find a bit lacking. So for example, you won't get the sparkliest cymbals from the iFi, but also you won't get any harshness and no sibilance. All in all, this does make for a lovely, relaxing listen, and choosing the right headphones will go a long way to achieving the perfect balance of sound. So for example, the Sundaras, which I think have amazing treble, pair very nicely with the Hip DAC. The Hip DAC has enough power to power the somewhat demanding Sundaras with no trouble at all. The most striking thing about the Hip DAC is how rich and expansive the music sounds through it. So for example, compared to the Apple headphone adapter, the soundstage really does open up with a beautiful sense of width as well as depth. How about that X bass button then, this fellow here? Well, I'll be honest with you, for me it's a little bit too much most of the time, because I prefer a slightly more neutral presentation, but there's no denying that it's a lot of fun. The times I find it most enjoyable is with acoustic music, where it adds some subtle weight to the bass and lower mid-range frequencies without becoming overpowering. Now there are a few things that I don't like about this DAC, because of course no DAC is perfect. So first of all, I've already mentioned the really long charge time, and to go with that, the battery life is actually pretty short. So for me, it's varied anywhere between 3.5 to 6 hours, depending on the cans that I've been using. So with the Sundaras, for example, they drain it closer to 3 to 4 hours, whereas with some sensitive IEMs like the Starfields, you can keep using it for around 6 hours, I reckon. iFi reckons you get 8 hours out of it. I've never managed that personally. There is also a significant background drain even when the unit's powered off. So when I left it in my drawer for a couple of days and came back to it, the battery was almost flat from being almost fully charged, and I find that really disappointing. Now, if you are using sensitive in-ear monitors at low volumes, you'll find that there's quite a marked channel imbalance, certainly from the 3.5mm output. And what that means is that you'll hear sound more loudly through one ear than the other. Now you have to turn the volume up to remedy this completely, but I find that the minimum volume needed to eradicate the channel imbalance is actually too loud for comfortable listening. Hey, I really value my hearing, and you should too. We're in it for the long run, audio geeks. Now this issue can easily be eradicated by adding a volume attenuator, such as this one from iFi itself. I can't remember how much it cost. I got it from Amazon. They plug this in and it adds a little bit of resistance and makes everything sound fine. The other thing without this, with sensitive IEMs, is that there is a bit of a background hiss, and this is by no means the blackest background on an amp that I've ever heard. But once again, chuck in your volume attenuator and it will sort it out. The other issue I have is that the little LED lights on either side of the volume knob are a little bit lacking in functionality. So they're meant to indicate the kind of file you're playing and the sample rate, but actually loads of sample rates are grouped together. So if you have a look at the quick start card, you will see that 44, 48, 88 and 96 Hertz sample rate frequencies will all give rise to a green LED. The only time I've found it useful really is when it goes magenta, when it's playing MQA files, so I know I'm getting the full MQA unfold. But look, on the whole, these are very minor issues for what is a device that offers fantastic build quality, a warm, relaxed sound, and oodles of power in a highly portable and downright attractive, I think we can agree, package. Pair this with the right pair of headphones and you'll be in portable hi-fi heaven. Therefore I have no hesitation in awarding the Hip DAC the hugely coveted Audio Fixation Gold Award. Honestly, go and get one before iFi decide to charge double for this, which I think they could easily get away with. It's that good. Let me know what you think, guys, in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the review and stay tuned for more. Until then, stay safe and keep plugged into the music.